Hello, folks, and welcome to the 2021 State of Hunger Address. Today, we'll cover what we currently know about hunger and its impacts in Oregon and Southwest Washington, and the efforts of the Oregon Food Bank Network and our broader community to fight hunger and its root causes. I'm Susannah Morgan, the CEO at Oregon Food Bank. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be dropping some knowledge and then taking questions, so please stick around. I'm entertaining, informative, and even super bubbly, I promise. Let's start with the numbers. Hold on to your seats because this is shocking. Hunger was a crisis before the pandemic. More than 860,000 of us visited a partner agency through the Oregon Food Bank Network for food assistance. Across the country, tens of millions of people face the impossible choice of paying for food or other essentials like housing, medicine, and childcare. And the pandemic made the hunger crisis even worse. Last year, here in Oregon and Clark County, Washington, the number of people who asked for food assistance was nearly 1.7 million people. That's double the pre-pandemic rate of hunger. That's about 1 in 4 people in Oregon and Southwest Washington. That means if you yourself did not personally experience hunger in the past year and a half, you know someone who did. Hunger does not affect them. Hunger affects us. So our job as the Oregon Food Bank Network during this pandemic has been clear. Meet the 100-year flood of hunger with food assistance and continue to address the root causes of hunger, even during a pandemic. So we have been adapting, pivoting, and doing new things to meet that need. Allow me to paint a visual. The Oregon Food Bank Network is like a tree. People facing hunger are at the top of the tree, accessing food from the next branch down. The 1,400 food assistance sites providing groceries and meals across Oregon and Southwest Washington. Those food assistance sites get much of their food and best practices from their regional food bank, and there are 21 of them across Oregon and Clark County. Oregon Food Bank runs 5 of those regional food banks and partners with 16 additional nonprofits. And the regional food banks get food from local sources and from the statewide warehouse where I'm standing right now, operated by Oregon Food Bank. It is this complex, interconnected, interdependent, locally driven network that had to step up to fight this tidal wave of hunger. And step up we did, all while holding the health and safety of our community as our top priority. In the first months of the pandemic, when hunger was at its highest, Oregon Food Bank handled 50% more food each month than we have ever done before. We put hundreds of thousands of dollars onto grocery gift cards for our community members who have specific cultural or dietary food needs. We invested in our immigrant and migrant neighbors through the Oregon Worker Relief Fund. We ladled out significant hazard pay to our drivers, warehouse team, our volunteer coordinators. And in July, in recognition of the hard work of these essential workers, we made that pay increase permanent. Oregon Food Bank's organizational minimum wage is now $21.50 an hour, so that no one who works here has to make an impossible choice between food and other essentials. The regional food banks and food assistance sites face similar challenges. They adapted their operations to allow for increased social distancing, contactless pickup and delivery options, and for the unthinkably long lines of neighbors facing hunger. Some sites, like the Northeast Emergency Food Program in Northeast Portland's Cully neighborhood, served as many community members in a single week as they usually see in months. And we, the whole food assistance system, succeeded. Food assistance has remained available throughout the pandemic. Other states saw huge mass food distributions in sports arenas, but we never did in Oregon because our network worked. Just think about it. More than 1,400 different groups of people in 37 counties all had to make decisions, often with changing and conflicting public health advice, to pivot and ensure food distributions carried on. And not only did food keep flowing, not one COVID outbreak has been traced to the Oregon Food Bank Network. I am so proud of all my colleagues. As I said, hunger was a crisis before the pandemic, but the economic impact of COVID-19 has worsened circumstances for so many communities that have disproportionately faced hunger and poverty for generations. These include communities of color, immigrant, migrant, and refugee communities, single moms, single caregivers, and our trans and gender non-conforming communities. At the same time, COVID brought food insecurity to the doorsteps of thousands of families for the first time. Many community members had never sought out food assistance before and did not know where to turn. That's why we launched our new and improved Food Finder tool in 14 of the most commonly spoken languages in the Pacific Northwest. We want to make it as easy as possible for community members to find food and the 1,400 food assistance sites throughout the region. So share the news that food is available. An interactive map of food assistance sites can be found at OregonFoodFinder.org. As CEO of Oregon Food Bank and a 25-year food banker, my recurring nightmare is that some neighbor out there has an empty stomach and doesn't know where to go. So please help spread the word. But food is not enough. While I'm incredibly proud of our food assistance system and all its people, I also know this: food assistance is not a solution. It's simply a Band-Aid on a wound that requires much more attention. We all need to eat 3 times a day, and so food assistance can help us get through some days or maybe weeks, but it doesn't heal hunger. At Oregon Food Bank, we believe the cure for hunger lies in changing the systems that drive hunger in the first place. Low-wage jobs, expensive housing, lack of health care, unequal education. Working for systems change can sound big and scary, but it's actually a person-to-person activity. So we follow the lead of people with lived and living expertise of hunger, like the folks on our Policy Leadership Council. We listen to our neighbors as we identify barriers to prosperity together. And then together, we set about to remove these barriers through public policy change at the local, state, and national level. This group of activities is called organizing and advocating, and it can be done from your smartphone or computer. It is as simple as telling our elected officials that hunger stinks and we want it gone. Our elected leaders have the power to pass anti-hunger policies and to create and fund programs that address the root causes of poverty, the leading cause of hunger. And in just the past few weeks, we've seen the incredible impact of policy decisions right here in our communities, from the state eviction and foreclosure moratorium, to cash payments aimed at reducing child poverty, to a historic boost to SNAP food assistance benefits. None of this would have been possible if it weren't for all of us working together to organize and advocate for a change. So it's incredibly important that we make our voices heard, whether through grassroots policy advocacy or at the ballot box. And as a nation, we have an extraordinary opportunity right now to reduce hunger across America. The Build Back Better Act, now moving through Congress, would make once-in-a-generation improvements to strengthen our families and communities. It includes a pathway to universal school meals in Oregon, because no child should feel shame for eating a meal. It includes food assistance for students and families in the summer months when school meals are unavailable. It includes an extension of the monumental child tax credit, which includes many families who currently can't access it. It includes universal access to pre-K, and it includes pathways to citizenship for immigrant Americans, which strengthens the foundation of our food systems and helps people pursue their dreams. I cannot emphasize enough how much these policies will be game changers for families throughout Oregon and Southwest Washington. Combined, they will have a meaningful, measurable impact in reducing hunger. And we have a chance to make this happen. So please join us in calling on Oregon's senators and members of Congress to pass the Build Back Better Act now. And with National Voter Registration Day coming up on September 28th, this is also a perfect time to get registered or make sure that your voter registration is up to date. Visit our website at OregonFoodBank.org/Hunger Action Month for a simple online registration form. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for action alerts to ensure you have the most up-to-date information on anti-hunger policies and ways to make your voice heard. Because together, we really can end hunger for good. And that brings us to today, Hunger Action Day, a time where efforts across the country are focused for an even greater hunger fighting impact. Throughout the month of September, we've been sharing resources and information on ways you can get involved this Hunger Action Month and beyond, including volunteering, advocating for change at the legislative level, making financial contributions to aid in our work to end hunger. In joining us today, you have already taken action. Your support of the Oregon Food Bank Network throughout this horrendous pandemic has made it possible for us to succeed. So really, our success is your success. Thank you for being our community. I'm going to head into a quieter space for the Q&A portion, so bear with me for just a moment. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, please feel free to post them in the comments section, and I'll do my best to get to them all. Thank you. Hello again, folks. Thank you for joining me for the question and answer section of the State of Hunger address. I'm so excited to be able to communicate with you in these virtual times. So I see a question has come in. The first question is, how concerned are you about federal benefits expiring? The short answer is, I'm really concerned. It's a pit in my stomach. The federal benefits that have been available to folks this past year and a half during this pandemic have really prevented even deeper hunger, poverty, and misery. However, right now, we also have light on the horizon. As I said in my remarks, the Build Back Better Act is up in front of Congress right now, and that would really have a meaningful impact on our families who are struggling with poverty and hunger. So you can do something right now. You can go to OregonFoodBank.org and sign up for our action alerts and participate in our movement to get the Build Back Better Act passed. Thank you so much. And I see we've got another question coming in. Oregon Food Bank focuses a lot on the root causes of hunger. What are some examples of root causes, and how can concerned people do something about them? What a great question. So, if you can just imagine what you do with your life when the paycheck comes in, you split it up for all the things that you need. This much for housing, this much for food, this much for clothing, this much for keeping your car maintained, and all the other expenses that you have. Fundamentally, hunger happens because people don't have enough financial resources to meet all of those expenses. So hunger is a symptom of poverty. And of course, those expenses are also driven by the systems that we have in place. What is our access to affordable housing? What is our access to healthcare? What is our access to education that will work for your children and their needs? And how does that impact your expenses? So at Oregon Food Bank, we work on all of those things. If you can just picture for a moment, if you are one of the many people who went for a food box this year, I'm sure you were grateful to get it, and I'm sure it lasted you 3 to 5 days, and then you needed more help. Food is a short-term solution. We need to get at the root causes for the longer term. And frankly, the root causes will be solved by civic engagement. So if you want to do something right now, sign up again for our action alerts at OregonFoodBank.org and contact your elected officials to tell them that you care about hunger and poverty and stay engaged. Another question, so excited. The latest USDA statistics seem to indicate the need for food assistance is declining. We have a policy wonk in the audience. That's fabulous. How does that stack up to your experience here in Oregon? Okay, so every year USDA does a study called the U.S. Household Food Security Study, in which they do a phone survey and they ask 18 questions like, did you miss a meal so someone else in your household could eat? Or did you worry about your food running out before you could purchase more? Those kinds of questions. And it is true that the results for 2020, which were just released, indicated pretty stable food insecurity rates. We think that this is really caused by two things. First, it's caused by the fact that the federal government really did a lot to prevent hunger from being even worse. A lot of federal programs were rolled out during this pandemic, many of which are sunsetting right now. The second is that the data is confusing. When you answer a question about whether you went hungry, you may think, no, I didn't, because the food pantry gave me the food I needed. Right? And so that very data gets messed up and hard to understand. But what we do know is that we saw a lot more people. The Oregon Food Bank Network saw 1.7 million people last year compared to 860,000 in 2019. And Feeding America, the national network of food banks, estimates that 60 million people nationwide asked for food assistance, a 50% increase. So we know that the need for food assistance went up, even if the data about food insecurity is confusing. Love me some policy wonks. Thank you for that question. Okay, what's the best way for someone to have an impact right now? Well, if you are financially secure right now, your financial donations are so amazingly important. And in fact, it is frankly better for you to donate money than food for two reasons. One, we can do a lot more with your money than you can. We buy food by the truckload for distribution, and we know what food is needed. So please make a financial donation right now at OregonFoodBank.org if your budget allows. Okay, another one. Oh, great question. Who is eligible for food assistance? The answer is anyone who needs it. At Oregon Food Bank, we hold people experiencing hunger at the center of all we do. And when we say that hunger is available, we mean it's available. People make their own choices, their own decisions about what they need for themselves and their families. So no matter your immigration status, no matter your gender identity, no matter your faith tradition, we welcome you to food assistance sites, and there are 1,400 of them. Please, if you're wondering whether food assistance is available to you, the answer is yes, and you can find out where at OregonFoodFinder.org. Thank you so much for joining us for the 2021 State of Hunger Address. You are our community. I want to remind you of two things before I let you go. First, you can find out all this information and all about how to get involved at OregonFoodBank.org/Hunger Action Month. And the second is, please take action right now on the Build Back Better Act. Again, all the information on our website. We are so grateful to you and look forward to working with you together as we work to end hunger for good.